Alright, so you should be checking out the K&N Series 57 Cold Air for your 2009 to 2010 5.4 liter truck. If you're looking for a no-nonsense, bare-bones option that is made by one of the most trusted names in filtration. Now this is also going to be an awesome choice for anyone that is after a 50-state legal, carb-certified option that will give you a little bit more power and of course a little bit more noise under the hood with or without a tune of your choice. Now your pricing is going to come in just south of $300 and the install will get a very soft 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter from me with a general walkthrough of the install later in the video. So for those who don't know, FIPK or the Fuel Injection Performance Kit is one of K&N's most popular cold air offerings and continues to be a solid choice with many truck owners here on the site. Again, this is a 50-state legal option. It is carb certified, meaning truck owners out there in tough states like California, for instance, can take advantage of this system and all of the benefits that come along with it. It does not require the use of a custom tune as well, but as always, adding a tune into the mix is only going to increase your total power output. But with that being said, there still are gains to be had with the intake by itself. And just what kind of gains are we talking about here? Well, K&N claims upwards of 12 horsepower and 14 foot-pounds of torque to the rear wheels, which in my opinion will be best case scenario for a lot of truck owners out there without the use of a custom tune. But power benefits are only one part of the equation here. What else can you expect when bolting this thing up? Well, improved throttle response is a biggie as pointed out by some of our customer reviews. In addition to maybe the slightest increase in miles per gallon, nothing huge of course, but again, pointed out by some of our fellow truck owners who have actually been running the K&N on their rig. So again, read up on those customer reviews if you haven't already done so. It's a great way to get some insight on the intake from real world customers. And because this is an open element style filter here as opposed to being a sealed enclosure like your factory intake, you are most certainly going to be hearing a little bit more engine noise, which in my opinion is always one of the cool things that comes along with installing an aftermarket intake like this, especially on the great sounding Triton 5.4. Now the truck is just going to sound a little tougher, a little meaner overall when you're really hammering on it, and in my opinion is a great complement to an aftermarket exhaust of your choice. Now, power and sound improvements aside, you can also look forward to receiving one of K&N's signature high flow reusable filters here. Obviously, this is what the brand is known for. It's their bread and butter, and it's one of the highlights in this particular kit. Now, these filters are actually made from a few different layers of cotton gauze material, sandwiched between this wire mesh or screen, all of which is then finally oiled using K&N special sauce. And guys, that's actually going to increase your filtering capabilities with the filter itself, along with being washable and re-oilable over the years, saving you some money as opposed to getting those cheap paper element factory filters every year or so. Now, as far as the rest of the intake is concerned, you can see this thing is very basic by design, which I personally like, others may not. Now, there's no big flashy logo stamped all over it, no chrome flash or anything like that, no gimmicks, it's all business. You're looking at a black plastic intake tube, textured matte black at that, in addition to the open element heat shield, which does actually tap into the lower portion of your airbox. That's a design I really like. The high flow filter, which we've already talked about, and then last but not least, all of your couplers and hardware needed for the installation. Now, if you did want something with a little bit more flash, feel free to check out the K&N Series 77 intake instead. You can also find that here on the site. It's gonna be a very similar intake by design. However, the Series 77 is going to utilize a polished aluminum tube in place of the textured black plastic and should give you that more modified look under the hood. Pricing wise, I think you'll find the K&N to be a little bit more affordable compared to some of your other big name options in the category, and that certainly is the case here with the Series 57. Just south of $300 is what you're going to be looking at. Compare that to some of your air rate options, your engine options, or maybe even some systems from AEM, and I think you'll find it to be considerably more affordable than some of those other big brands. But what do you say we shift gears and briefly graze over some of the big chunks of the installation? And if this is one of the first modifications you are doing to your truck, rest assured it's a very, very simple job. So that's why I'm calling it a 1 out of 3 wrenches on the overall scale of difficulty, and maybe 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how fast you guys like to work. Tool-wise, very simple stuff here. A couple of screwdrivers, Phillips or a flathead, in addition to a basic socket set. And then last but not least, a T20 Torx tool to help you transfer over the mass airflow sensor from your factory intake over to the new K&N. First things first, out with the old before you can get in with the new, right? So go ahead and disconnect your factory intake at the throttle body, disconnect your mass airflow sensor, remove any hoses, and unclip the top portion of your factory airbox, removing that in one piece. With the factory intake out of the way, transfer your mass airflow sensor over to the new K&N here, and then simply start reassembling in reverse order. Drop in the filter assembly to the airbox, connect your couplers at the throttle body, reconnect all of your hoses, and plug in that MAF sensor, and your installation is complete. So wrapping this one up here, gang, if you're looking to get all of the benefits out of a cold air system but don't necessarily need the most expensive or the fanciest option out there, the Series 57 from K&N is going to be an awesome choice, and you can grab yours right here at AmericanTrucks.com.